back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is a world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. Yeah, it's time for the Culture Call right here with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. Yes, it is the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. And you know what we do for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm going to be here talking a little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And of course, we always try every morning to provide a safe space. That's right, a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? Yeah, you know how we do it. When we talk, I want you to join in. So you can call in and chat it up right here with me as we learn together on the Culture Call. Listen, welcome to each and every one of you who are maybe coming on for the first time. Yeah, maybe this is just your first time you stumbled across us. Somebody told you about it, whatever. Welcome to the Culture Call community. We are all family right here. We are dedicated to making sure that our community, the Black community, is not late, late, or lost in anything that we do. And so we talk about a myriad of subjects to make sure that we know what's happening, yes, not only in our community, in our nation, but even in the world. So, yeah, I encourage you to do me a favor. Welcome to all of our members, all of our family members who listen to us on the daily, the Culture Call. I thank you, and most especially you sitting up in the nosebleed section, right? Yeah, it's a great thing that we are creating this whole family, and I'm excited about it. Yeah. When you see me in the street, you're like, yo, I listen to you every day on the radio. Listen, I cannot tell you from the bottom of a grateful heart. Thank you so much for always tuning in and sharing the word about the Culture Call. Listen, I need everybody to do this if you have not done it already. Go ahead and go to your app store on your smart device, whether that's Apple or Android. And I need you to search out Praise 93.3. That's right, Praise 93.3 FM. And there you will find an app, a free 99 app. Can you believe it? That's absolutely. Yeah, I need you to go ahead, pull that up, download it to your phone, and you can hear us, listen to us from all around the world. Oh, yeah, wherever you are, even definitely in this country, doesn't matter where you are, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, down in Tampa, Florida. Maybe you're in Houston, Texas, or Los Angeles, California, and definitely right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and all of the surrounding areas. Go ahead and put that convenient app on your phone, and you can listen to the Culture Call wherever you are. That's right. Not only the Culture Call, but you can listen to Brother Jay, who leads me in. Shout out to Brother Jay. He is an amazing man. He blazes up the trail from 5 to 10. And passes off the baton to me, and I try to keep running at his pace. Man, listen, I'm telling you. So go ahead and download that app. Yeah, do that for me, and you can hear us wherever you are. Some of you are at work, and so you're not able to call in or be a part of the discussion like you used to be in terms of the summer when you didn't probably have to work or there wasn't much monitoring. But times have changed, switched. Yeah, we're back in school. Teachers are back in school. Folks are dutifully working now that the fall has come in. So it is what it is. But you can put your earplugs and your earphones in your ears, and guess what? You can hear me wherever you are, right? And listen, for those of you who have things going on, go ahead and take this down. Email me your public service announcements or your events at culturecall.praise@gmail.com, or you can definitely hit me up on the Culture Call Facebook page. So go ahead, do one of those two, culturecall.praise@gmail.com, or go open up that app and like the Culture Call. That's right. You're going to see my picture on it. Go ahead and like it, and you can message me. I had quite a few people to do that this week, and we'll talk about that in the second hour. But yes, I want you to go ahead and send me your public service announcement so that I can let Lottie, Dottie, and everybody know what's going on at your church, your organization, your fraternity, your sorority, your choir, your concerts, whatever it is, your seminars. I want people to put their faces in the place. That's right. To encourage you, to let you know that what you're doing really matters in the community. Really, we want to be a part of helping you. You know why? Because we do it better when we do it together. Absolutely. And of course, you can always call into the show, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. You can call in or you can chat it up. Go to the chat on the app. That's right. Many people do that. Go to the chat on the app and you can send me a message. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if you're enjoying our subject matter. Give me a suggestion for a subject matter. Tell me, L, you're doing great. Or, L, you're stinking up the joint. Get off. No, no, my feelings don't hurt. I just want you to be a part of the show. So definitely, I want to hear from you. Yeah. So do me a favor, sit back, as we say every morning, sit back and relax, grab you some coffee, whether it's Maxwell House or Starbucks. Y'all know what I like by now. You should, right? Yeah, or get you some herbal tea, some chamomile if you're trying to calm down. You just got off on the night shift, maybe just getting home, or get you some green tea, that healthy caffeine kick. That's right, to wake yourself up and get yourself moving. It's 10 o'clock, so you already should be moving. Nonetheless, you may have a late start. Get your little caffeine kick. Or you can get some alkaline water and detox that body. I'm drinking some this morning as well. I had a long weekend in St. Louis, Missouri. Enough people fed me stuff that I don't normally eat, but it was good. So I'm drinking some water this morning and getting that stuff flushing out my system, telling those cells, I still love you and I still need you to work for me. That's right. And guess what? Let's get into the coaching, most definitely. Listen, this week, we're going to be dealing with a particular sensitive subject that I think is so very important, not only just in our community, but in the whole country, the world. And that subject is suicide. We're going to be talking about suicide. You heard me talk about planning this week for a minute now, and we have an opportunity to pull the trigger on it finally. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Safe from suicide, your life means something. We're going to be pushing that whole idea and really trying to inspire and minister to those who may find life to be so heavy and so hard that they want to give up on living. And let me say this before we even broach this conversation, that the culture call is not a judgmental space. In other words, we don't weaponize our faith. We don't weaponize the Bible. We don't weaponize God to try to shame people into a particular course of life and living that we deem to be so. Even if you can be correct, but you can be wrong in your approach. And what I tell people is sometimes we fight for right and wrong, that we miss fighting between life and death. And whatever is going to preserve life, whatever is going to encourage life among us is what we really need to be fighting for, right? We can deal with right or wrong sometimes later, but I think we need to have a serious conversation about a serious subject, a sensitive subject around suicide. And I want to bring you into a mature space, a free space on the culture call again, because I take it seriously. I take life seriously, not just in what I do on the daily, not just in a way and to see and to understand different nuances in life. I know what it means to be deeply depressed. I know what it means to feel like your life is on the brink and you're about to unravel. And fortunately, to God be the glory, I have had people around me. I've had a kind of life that I got to have a spiritual life where I could tap in and encourage myself in the Lord and find therapy to get out of those situations. But the reality is most people, when you do the study, and we're going to do some of that all week long, the statistics in the study are mind-boggling, mind-blowing. You would be surprised at how many people have contemplated, I'm talking about seriously contemplated, ending their lives. And how, especially in the religious community, so many cultural subjects that we don't have the certain gravitas, we don't have the certain information to even talk about, that I don't know if we don't have the sensitivity. So I'm not going to say that we don't have the sensitivity. But what I am going to say is that we are not as sensitive about the subject as we should be. That we don't know how to bring ourselves to a place of saying, hey, people have issues. And I think, especially as a part of the church, that's what I've done my entire life in terms of pastoring, ministering to people, meeting people, seeing the nuances of their life. Suicide is a very, very sensitive issue. It's a very complex issue. If you ever talk to someone who's trying to commit suicide, who is contemplating that, they begin to rationalize the significance more of death and dying. It's so dire and morbid that even if you're trying to encourage them with life and you're giving them reasons to live, they'll always find a way to trend to death. And that is a frightening subject for a lot of people. And I say we have to have more conversation, especially in the religious community and in our community, period, concerning people who find themselves in that state, that we ought to have numbers and suicide numbers available. One of the things that the text says in John 10:10, and I'm going to do the B clause before I do the A clause. It says, but I am come that you might have life. You might have life and you might have it more abundantly. That the whole context of Christ Jesus' coming is life. The whole issue of what we believe in faith is life. Everlasting life, abundant life, Zoe, the God kind of life. Life to the full is what that word means, Z-O-E. It means life to the full, the fullest kind of life that you can have. But the reality of that is this, is the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, right? And the idea of that whole notion, if you would understand it, from a principle, is that there is always going to be an attack on life. Let me say that again. That there is always, at every level of living, going to be an attack on life. And especially when you're able, when your brain and your mind is able, your soul is able to make decisions and choices. When you begin to understand what is right and what is wrong, when you begin to gain a conscience and become conscientious about some things, that's when that attack happens. That we don't necessarily have to worry about a newborn babe and the whole issue of suicide because they don't know enough about the world. They don't know enough about trying to care for themselves. They don't know enough about the journey of life and living to even deal with and toggle between whether they want to live or they want to die. This is their first time in this world. But as children, as they get older, and that older, according to statistics, starts at 7. When they start at 7 years old, they begin to get a sense of life for them, a sense of living. They begin to develop a core sense of memory, a core sense of learning how to choose, how to decide. That is when their character is being shaped, and they're being asked questions like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do in life? And from that age, the attack of this whole idea of suicide, this whole idea of life can begin to work. And you're like, what? 7? Yes. That there are people that are being attacked, and they are little people. I'm talking about little humans, children. And one of the things that fascinate me even about this suicidal tendency is how there is an uptick in this country from children who are in the elementary, middle school ages who are committing suicide. No, not who are thinking about it, because that would be much more, but who are actually ending their lives because of bullying, because of societal and cultural views on difference, that they don't feel like they fit in, that their lives don't matter. And that begins to cause us to ask the question, how at that young age can you have that frame of reference of life? How at that young age, when you've not even experienced half of what life, a fraction of what life is about, how can you make such a definite decision about life? You know, many people, psychologists and psychiatrists say that suicide is not just external, that there are mental things that go on. There are mental faculty difficulties. There's the deficiencies, rather. And from that point, that person, whether child or adult, will trend toward that kind of behavior, dystopian behavior, disconnected behavior, introverted behavior. Yeah, and they don't know how but to rationalize life in that manner. And that rationalization is, let me in mind. And then they because we are exposed in this country to such a violence. We are such a violent, bloody people. Let me say it again. We are such a violent, bloody, we can be a very harsh people. Yeah, I'm not just talking about you as a singular notion, because I know you are nice and kind to everybody, but our children, they view it on the TV, they see it on social media, they have challenges that puts their life on the edge. There is something about humans that think that life is to live on the edge, that, to swim with the sharks, the great white sharks, to jump up off of mountains, to, take guns and point them at their heads and play Russian roulette. That's some of what is ingrained in the fabric of our country, and dare I say even just humanity at large. But there are people who are trying to toggle between whether I really want to live today or not, whether my life really matters, what is my value. They feel like their value is below zero, and they have a trouble, and it's troublesome for them. And here is the deal. They know how, some of them know how to cover up. They know how to smile. They know how to go to work. They know how to have families. They know how to do everything, but inside of them, they are experiencing one of the greatest and darkest storms and seasons of their lives. And one of the things that we want to do this week is how to recognize. Now, we're not going around being the life or death police, so please don't do that. And listen, and mother, sister, so-and-so, brother, sister, so-and-so, deacon, evangelist, don't try to put your discernment glasses on trying to see who, because I promise you that is not what we're talking about either. Definitely not. But what we're saying is that there has to be a particular sensitivity and a connectivity in how we manage relationships, how we establish, how we manage, how we steward over each other, a sense of care and concern, how we pour in positive words, how we speak to one another, how we treat one another. When you do the research, that a lot of people who have contemplated suicide felt overlooked. In a room full of people, they felt like nobody else saw them. They felt like nobody else saw them. There's a situation going on right now where this young black girl was in a line with all of these little white girls, and they had just finished this gymnastic tournament, and everybody was supposed to get a medal. And so this medal, the person who was passing out the medals, put it on white girl after white girl. She gets to the black girl and skips her, goes to the next white girl, goes to the next white girl. And the little white girls were like, but you missed somebody. Now, that was evident because she had one more medal in her hand. And the little white girl was like, hey, you missed my friend. And she didn't give the black girl any medal. And the hurt and the pain in that black girl's face, because she was overlooked. All her other friends got it. And I'm not going to deal with the racial dynamics. And of course, there was, I believe it was in Sweden somewhere, but they released a statement and of course, saying that the incident was deplorable and all that. But what of that in the mind of that little black girl? What in her mind? What is her saying of herself? And the person who overlooked her, the person who didn't give her medal said, oh, I didn't see her. You mean to tell me all these girls are lined up, And the girl reminded you, but you didn't see her. You see, people, and I only use that as a point of reference, that people feel unseen. People feel unseen. People who trend to be suicidal feel unseen. Yeah. They feel like, even though I'm living in this world, even though I'm in this family, even though I go to school every day, even though I go to job every day, my place of employment, I feel unseen. And I know we have certain things, but you can overlook me, you know, right? I get it. You know, you can be looked over, but there's a season where they're going to be looking for you. Okay, but some people don't live long enough to even get to that season, because how could you not see me? How could you not see me? How could you allow your hatred or your ideology or whatever it may be to make me invisible? And so since I'm invisible, they say, well, I might as well end it all. You never understand the trauma of people. That was always something that was interesting to me. The trauma of people who literally seek to end their lives. That is always wow to me. That, you know, you get a phone call, hey, XYZ did such and so forth. And you be like, what happened? Man, they committed suicide. And now you're trying to think about all the things that they had going for them. You try to think about all the giftings that they had and all the talent that they had and all the God endowment and the creativity that they brought to the table. But guess what? Those people can't see it for themselves. Don't judge. Those people can't see it for themselves. Right? The young kids, they go to school and they're bullied. Too fat, too short, too skinny, too black, too white, too this, too that. And they're picked on every day. And I know we say, well, the kids got to toughen up. I get it. I promise you, I understand that. We went through bullying when we went to school too. I mean, I get it. And none of us thought to end our lives. Well, there but for the grace of God go you or I. We never know what is the mental faculty of anybody. Just because you can take it, just because you can play the dozens, and just because you can handle mama jokes and all this, just because you can deal with people pushing you around and pushing you down and you got to fight, everybody is not designed like that. Yeah, everybody is not designed like that. And normally what we do, instead of really talking and really counseling and really, really building that person up, we try to make them tough against the resistance. And everybody doesn't have that frame of reference, especially when you establish difference. One of the rising things in the world right now is the LGBTQ plus community, and children and your teenagers are finding themselves experiencing that kind of awakening, so to speak. Now, I'm not here to discuss whether you think that is biblically correct or incorrect. That's not the subject matter of today. No, neither are we going to talk about the various nuances, and we're not going to talk about what the Bible says and what it does not say. That's not what we're talking about. But I don't care how anyone shows up. And I've been preaching this for years, that everyone deserves dignity before we can even talk about deliverance. Let me say that again, that everybody deserves dignity. Dignity is the right and the worth of living, the right and the worth of life. Before we even talk about cast out the devil, before we even talk about use all of our religious language, because some people don't believe like us, XYZ. I get it. I understand it. I understand the natural reaction and the way we want to genuflect so quickly and bow down to all the things that we have learned as we castigate people. We got to be very careful. We got to be very careful in that context. I'm not talking about developing a sensitive, overly sensitive people who you can't say anything, you can't call right, and wrong. I'm not talking about holiness and unholiness, light and dark. That's not the subject matter of today. The subject matter of today is life and the threat to it. And the threat to life for a lot of people is their own sense of worthlessness. Is that when they look in the mirror, they see no reason. Let me say that again. They see no reason to keep living. And that doesn't mean that their 20s or 30s and 40s and whatever. That could simply, that is showing up, I told you, as early as 10. As early as 10. You have absolutely no clue what this person is going on in their job. You have no clue about the pressure. They could have just lost their job. And now they're trying to grapple with how to go home and have a discussion with their husband and or their wife. How they're going to take care of their bills. How they're going to take care of their families. How they're going to do all this X, Y, Z. I mean, you're like, oh, well, God going to make a way. That's great language. And I do believe it. I do believe God's going to make a way. But for that person at that moment, their world is crumbling. It's crashing down. And a lot of times it's like, who can I tell? Who can I talk to about this? And if you believe, because I do, if you believe in an enemy, if you believe in a Satan, if you believe in a devil, word Satan means adversary, that's when the adversary comes in to talk to their mind, to talk them out of life. You might as well end it all. Yeah. And that conversation begins to go on in their mind, turning over and over and over, and they're feeling hopeless. But I want to tell you that if you find yourself in that situation, any of those situations, bullying, you may have lost your job, may have lost someone who you loved in a relationship, you know, you may have a child who's suffering from bullying and being, threatened at school. I want to tell you that your life means something. Fight to live. I'm going to say it again. Fight to live. Fight to live. There is meaning, there is value, there is worth on the other side of this traumatic situation. But always fight for what God gives you, and that is abundant life, life to the full, life overflowing. It's going to get better, even when it feels like it's at its worst. And so I want you to understand that. Definitely. We're going to have a conversation this week that I think is very sensitive. What's going on with our youth? What's going on with those who find themselves in middle ages? What's going on with our pastors committing suicide? What's happening with that? Yeah, it's time for a conversation, family, a serious conversation. And when we look at the statistics of those who are committing suicide, we have got work to do. Listen, if you're listening to me today and you're on the edge, listen, I want to give you a number. That's 1-800-273-8255. That's right, 1-800-273-8255. That's me, 1-800-273-TALK, right? Or you can text the crisis text line. You can text HOME to 741-741. That word HOME to 741-741. They've got someone waiting right now to talk to you. This is The Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. It's going to be a wonderful day. I'm telling you right now. You need to keep it right here on Praise 93.3 FM. There is more to come. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on The Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM. And we are having a great day here in the studio talking about suicide. Yeah, how we can prevent suicide. We're having a very focused conversation about how we can help those who seem to be at their edge. And I think it's a very important conversation that we all need to engage in. And whether you can call in or not, or whether I need you listening to me, because you could be listening to help somebody else. Definitely. You could be listening to help somebody else. No doubt about it. Listen, when we look at the statistics about suicide, it has been declared a public health problem, a public health issue in the United States. With the rates of suicides are increasing for the past few decades. So for the last 30 years, since the latter part of the 90s, that this whole issue of suicide has been escalating, right? And so from the time of 2019, and they measured again 2023, 2024, it has claimed at least on record 47,500 deaths have been by suicide. By suicide. That's a lot. When you consider the nature of what suicide is, that's a lot of people. Almost 50,000 people per year kill themselves in their lives. That's a lot of folks. Yeah. And so they're finding many common factors. And some of the research that we looked up is about age. Age is a factor. Suicide rates tend to vary by age group. In 2019, the highest suicide rate was among individuals aged 45 to 54 years. Wow. And here it is. And also followed by those aged 85 years and older. So here's this. In 2019, the most people who were unaliving themselves, killing themselves, were aged 45 to 54. Middle age, that's what we term to be middle age. And the group right after it is 85 years old and older. And that's the demographic that's listening to this broadcast this morning. Yes. So I know we've been divinely appointed to talk about this because, in the age range of the listeners are the ones that are at the highest rate from 2019 till now, are the highest rate of unaliving themselves, right? Now, it says, however, suicide is a leading cause of death among young people. Watch this. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for individuals age 10 to 34. Did y'all hear what I just said? From 10 to 34, the second leading cause of death of individuals age 10 to 34, is suicide. Huh? Are you serious? That means that there is a conversation we need to have. And we ought not take it for granted that everyone we see and everyone in our family, everyone we are around is having a good day. This is why I preach, I teach, I tell you to go ahead and make sure that you build quality relationships, that you reach out and you connect, because no man is an island. Sometimes we become so performative that we know how to put on a face, and we look at people who are masquerading in front of us and don't even know the struggles that they go through. We don't know where they are in their mind. That's why it's good to listen and not to put off people. I know that there are days when you just want to be like, oh my gosh, I just wish I could have a quiet moment. I wish nobody would reach out to me. I get that. I promise you, I understand that. I promise you. I'm just getting back in town, and I got back in a new day early this morning. I got back, and I'm sleepy and I'm tired, and and when I get off the air, I'm gonna cut my phone off, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just chill out. But then you also have to be sensitive, because you might receive a phone call or a text message of someone that needs help, and you need to say, okay, hey, I'll put me to the side. I don't know what this could be. See, we got to be very sensitive. Right? Just because this ain't your time to go through doesn't mean that somebody else is not going through. And you never know that your listening ear and your caring heart could be a seed that you will need a harvest from in your future. So you always got to be sensitive and careful about how we treat other people. When it comes in terms of gender, historically, men have had higher suicide rates compared to women. In 2019, the suicide rate for males was more than 3 times than that for women. However, suicide rates among females have been increasing in recent years. That means that while we're fussing at what men are and what they ain't doing and how bad they are and what they need to do and all that kind of stuff, there are men who are ending their lives at a higher rate. The study says 3 times higher the rate than women. Because I listen to a lot of people, but if you're not a man, you really don't know what the pressure is. You really don't know what the cultural, societal pressure is. You know, this month I'm doing a series on men the entire month, and I did not know why. Because, you know, normally you would do a men's series in the month of, you know, June, Father's Day. That's what we normally do in church and whatever. Talk about that during that time. And it was hard pressed upon my heart. Just, hey, next month, talk about men. Huh? Next month, talk about men. I had something else I was getting ready to do, a whole different series. And I just felt impressed to talk about men. And as I've been studying, I see why. As I have been looking at social media and hearing some of the conversations and viewing some of the, you know, some TV, and then really looking up, listen, there needs to be a conversation about men. And I know that would be every conversation is about men. No, every conversation is not. It is not. It's not. Men are in danger of crumbling under the pressure of life. You know, that whole thing when I was growing up, be a man, don't be a chump. You know, do they use the word chump anymore? I don't think so. That's a 70s word. Absolutely. That was man up, man up, man up. But there are a lot of brothers that are crumbling under the pressure of manning up. They are crumbling under the pressure of feeling like nobody's listening to them and everything they do is wrong. They walk out the house and feel like the world is on their shoulder. And then they go to their various places and they can't find respect, right? They've got, you know, little boy issues in their hearts. They never were loved and cared for properly. And all of that pressure, you know, comes together, conglomerates together, amalgamates to create an implosion, something that's exploding on the inside of them, right? And it's causing them to be 3 times higher in terms of the suicide rate than women, right? Yeah. You know, the studies talk about race and ethnicity, that suicide rates are also vary by race and ethnicity. In 2019, the highest suicide rate was among the American Indian and Alaska Native individuals, followed by white individuals. Suicide rates were lower among Black, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islanders and populations. And I believe, and when I begin to look at that Black people, African American people, we don't deal with suicide as much, is because we have a different religious and spiritual cosmology. What does that mean? That, you know, a lot of us have spiritual centers. A lot of us go to church. We're religious. We pray a lot. You know, there is something that we are very soul people, soulish people, soulic people. And so, you know, we learn from an early age, something wrong, go pray about it. That's just our nature. Yeah. And then so we have a certain different way that we handle things. Suicide is not necessarily our run to or go to things. But when you look about drugs and violence and, you know, accidental overdoses and all those things, it is high. It is high among us. See, the whole issue is not do we succeed? The issue is, do we even try in terms of the value of life and how we live it and what we see as our human dignity, right? And so that's very important for us to understand. You know, there can be mental health conditions that go on and that characterize things such as depression and anxiety, substance abuse. All are significant risk factors for suicide. You know, and that when you are not in control of your mind, let me say that, there it is. Because last week we dealt a lot with mental health. When you are not control of your mind, let me say that one more again. I said, when you are not in control of the faculty of your mind, when you are on drugs, when you are drinking, yeah, when you're doing that, abusing substances, then you lose clarity of your ability to choose and to decide, to make quality choices and decisions. And sometimes that can inadvertently or lead to suicide, right? When you're addicted to pills, when you're addicted to medication, when you're addicted to any other kind of drug, you have to be very careful, because when you lose that thing in your mind to where you're not controlled, then you're open to receiving any idea or any course of action that might take a very destructive course on your own life. You know? And when you look at the research, there have been a lot of accidental suicides. What does that mean? Accidental? Well, they killed themselves, but they didn't mean to, but they were on this. When you look at the toxicology reports, when you look at the coroner's report, you will find that XYZ ABC was in their system, right? So that's important, that we really deal with those who are depressed and going through anxiety. You'll be surprised. The study says that approximately 50 to 60% of individuals who die from suicide have a diagnosed mental health condition at the time of their death. So that's why we talk a lot about mental health in our community, because I need you to pay attention to your mind and to your soul to make sure that, yes, that there is nothing trending to help you make decisions that will end your life. Absolutely. Now, here's another one that I thought was very interesting, and we have a bad problem with this in America, and that is access to lethal means. They said that that's a part and parcel of a problem with regards to elevated suicide rates in the country. And it simply means easy access to lethal means such as firearms increases the risk of suicide. Firearms are the most common method of suicide in the United States, accounting for nearly half of all suicides deaths. Now, we talked about that annually, suicides deaths are about 50,000 a year. What this report is saying is that half of those deaths are from firearms, guns. And of course, you know, America, they love God, quote, around God, and their guns. That's what they do. And everybody has a gun. They're fighting background checks because, again, and it's all about capitalism. You know, the gun lobby is paying them X amount of money to have any and everything, you know, that anybody can get them. We don't want background checks because we might lose money. At the end, it ain't got nothing to do with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment that's talking about the right to bear arms has absolutely nothing to do with why we want to own guns in this country. No, it goes back to the violent element. It has nothing to do with protection. We are not being overthrown by a country. They don't listen. That America is a superpower, so we don't. But everybody got to have 5 and 10 guns, and they don't even want you to regulate it with those who are mentally challenged and mentally disturbed. Right? And so what the report is saying is that when these firearms are prevalent and they have easy access to them, that people oftentimes take those guns and unalive themselves. They kill themselves. Right? And that's something that, you know, that's currently in the Congress right now. Let them have as many guns as they want. For what? For what? I'm not going to talk about what the mindset of a race war. We definitely not going to talk about that. Because some folks are afraid. They got guns, like, you know, they're afraid. And it's because the politicians and the media push that fear. They push that fear every day. Something to be afraid about. Nothing positive. Very few things that will elevate the intelligence and the conscience of the human community that comes out of that. But they forget on the backdrop of that, when you have an increase of guns and you make those guns accessible. And again, every suicide is not intentional. They are what they call accidental suicides. A child might find a gun and think it's just playing, and in just a second, that child has committed suicide by utilizing that gun. Not because anything was wrong, but because they had access to something that was not secured. They had access to something that was so very dangerous and violent in their own home because they see it. They see it on TV. You know? They see that level of violence lived out in the real world. You see? And so it was different. It's a different kind of mindset. Teenagers playing Russian roulette or just saying, hey, I'm tired, you know, and they have easy access to those lethal means. So, yeah, that's another part of that study. Yeah. I think when we really back up, and there are so many complex issues, right, that the LGBTQ plus population, suicides are higher among the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer and questioning individuals compared to the general population. And that's because of the unique stressors, the discrimination, and all of that goes on in our culture, in our society. I told you, here's the deal. The issue is right now, we're not talking about what is biblical and non-biblical. I'm giving you information so you can understand. Now, one of the things I was talking to a pastor, like he was going off. I said, Doc, here's the problem. You giving them dignity does not mean that you agree with their lifestyle. I hear you talking about deliverance, but Doc, you can't get them delivered if you're treating them like like they're not a person. You got to see the individual. That's what Jesus did. That's what Jesus. He looked at me and was like, I guess you're right. No, you ain't got to guess. I'm right. That the way that we preach and teach a lot of times in church and use our religions as weapons, right, as against people, cause people to be turned off from the one that can help them, if that is what you believe. You see what I'm saying? And so that community is unaliving themselves at an astronomical rate because where do they go? They can't come to church because, hey, we got something to say about them. They can't go to their parents because their parents come to church and, you know, it's a whole community of hating toward them. And I'm talking to you for you just to simply look at them as people. That's all. That's all we're trying to say to you today. Yeah. Listen to me. If you're having trouble, I'm going to say this number again. Suicide prevention number, 1-800-273-8255, or go ahead and text the word HOME, HOME, to 741-741 if you need to talk to somebody. Listen, this is yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3 FM. Keep it here. We've got so much more to go. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3. It's the top of the hour, 11 a.m. some change. You know how we do it here on this beautiful Monday morning. That's right. It's awesome Monday morning. Listen, we've got quite a few of community announcements. That's right. We've got quite a lot. Yeah, we sure do. Listen, so let me get right into it. Listen, I want to invite you to the Second Baptist Church presenting Youth Revival. There 3 nights. That's right. At the Second Baptist Church in Holt, Alabama. The Reverend H.P. Thomas Jr. is the pastor. That's right. A youth revival for 3 nights. You know the youth need to be revived too, right? Yes, we need to be there at the Second Baptist Church beginning on the 25th to the 27th. That's right. And it's going to be a phenomenal time right there at Second Baptist Church. The pastor, Reverend H.P. Thomas Jr. in Holt, Alabama, 3812 22nd Street, Northeast Holt, Alabama. That's right. They want you to come out and be a part of their 3-night youth revival. And of course, culminating on the Sunday is the Second Baptist Church wants you to come to their youth day. That's right. With the speaker, Reverend Jay Prince. He's going to be there. He's one of the associate ministers in the New Life Baptist Church. We want to be there October 1st, Sunday, October 1st, 2023 at 11 o'clock a.m. Again, that's at Pastor Reverend H.P. Thomas Jr. in Holt, Alabama. They want you to be a part of their youth day. So if you miss the youth revival leading up to it, you can come on Sunday, not today, but on Sunday, and be a part of that experience. We don't want you to miss it. Absolutely not. Listen, this Thursday night, let me say it again. This Thursday night at the Birmingham Museum of Art, the Alabama Alumni Scholarship Assistance Program, that's right, wants to address and help all of the students that want to attend the University of Alabama. Roll Tide, right? That's what they want to do. They want you to join the session to meet with an ASAP coordinator, Alumni Scholarship Assistance Program coordinator, to help you apply to UA, to talk about scholarships that are available in your area, or how you can make your scholarship application stand out, and so much more. It's not just filling out an application, it's making sure nowadays, it's making sure that your applications can stand out, because there's so many people that want to attend these various colleges. At UA in particular, I believe they're almost up to 45,000 students, right? And so, if you want to be a part of that, or better yet, if your young person wants to be a part of that, go ahead and Thursday, not tonight, Thursday night, September 28th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the Birmingham Museum of Art, 2000 Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard, Birmingham, Alabama. Make sure that you do that. They want you to register to come. And they say, make sure that you attend this session before you apply. Again, you need to attend the session that they're providing now before you apply. And they will tell you how to navigate that scholarship program. So make sure that you have that on your calendar. And of course, this Saturday evening at the Bryant Conference Center is going to be a fashion night out in Paris, sponsored by High Expectations supermodel Rodney High is the facilitator of that event. Listen, it's going to be a blast, a blast, a blast. If you have not gotten your ticket already, you are late, last, and lost. And I told you we were going to make sure that that's not what's going to happen to you. So you still got time. You can go to Eventbrite and look up Tuscaloosa events. You can search out a fashion night out in Paris. You can put Rodney's name in Eventbrite. That's right. www.eventbrite.com. You can go ahead and look for it in our area and get your tickets. $35 for general, $50 for VIP. That's right. The runway start, the red carpet, not runway, but the red carpet begins at 6 p.m. He wanted me to stress that. 6 p.m., right? For all of you stragglers and all that, the red carpet is a high part of the fashion show. Yeah, that begins at 6 p.m., and the show will begin promptly at 7 p.m. So that means they're going to be moving people on that red carpet, and you definitely want to be a part. So yes, at this weekend at the Bryant Conference Center, we want you there at the fashion night out in Paris. And of course, I'll be performing my newest single that's about to come out in next month. That's right. And great things. And it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be a wonderful time. So go ahead. Yeah. Get your couture, get your flashy stuff. That's right. Come on out and be a part of that fashion night. Absolutely. Listen, Shelton State Community College is having a heavy equipment class for the dozer and skid steer training, and they're offering scholarships. You need to go ahead and call 205-391-3482 if that is what you want to do, dealing with heavy equipment and all of that, training behind the wheel and all of those things at the Fred campus. Or you can email workforce@sheltonstate.edu. Make sure that you do that. And then, of course, finally, October 28th. That's right. We are approaching October already. That's right. Saturday, October 28th, from the hours of 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., they're going to have a Boost Your Brand pop-up shop sponsored by Black Graphics. CC Cooper is the hostess. That's right. 2101 Bowers Park Drive, right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. They want you to come out and be a part of that Boost Your Brand pop-up shop. Maybe you want to be a vendor. Contact CC. Contact her at 205-722-3770. Let me say that again, 205-722-3770, and be a part of the Boost Your Brand pop-up shop. Listen, so many great things going on in our community. If you still want to be a part of what's happening, let me know. I told you all, I don't play about it. I want to be your PR specialist and let everybody know what's happening. We want to see some faces in the places, some traffic happen at your event. You can email me at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, or you can get online, go to Facebook, and there search out the Culture Call Facebook page. Like that page, and then you can send us a message and give us your advertisement there. So we've got two ways now to facilitate that: culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and watch this, the Culture Call Facebook page. Do that and let me know how you want me to present all of the things that you want me to talk about, and tell the folks, hey, make sure that you are there. Make sure that you are there, right? Good deal, good deal, good deal, right? Are all hearts and minds clear, right? Oh, my goodness, absolutely. Listen, so we've been talking about this morning just how our community needs to pay attention to suicide and offer suicide prevention. And I believe that that this conversation this week that we're going to have is very important, because we never know who are among us, even if it's in ourselves, who are struggling, right? And I know sometimes we try to put it off, sometimes we try to be strong, and yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to say, as I said last week, as we were talking about mental health, there is nothing wrong with therapy. There is nothing wrong with Christ and finding a counselor, right? And sometimes we got to find the help that we need in those precarious moments, right? Sometimes we can adopt a mindset of Bible days, not understanding that it's Bible days. Let me say it again. The reason why I say that is that we oftentimes, especially in church, when you're religious and sometimes we think today is Bible days. That's a different time, a different culture, a different a technology, a different level of understanding of science, that we are in modernity and they are in way pre-modernity. I mean, yeah, they were in the single double digits of dates, clocks, and calendars. You see what I'm saying? And so for us to feel like we're just going to be walking on the street and, you're going to see a donkey pull up and whatever, you got to get your mindset to understand that he's the same yesterday, today, yeah, and forevermore. He's going to be right. And God is a progressive movement. He's a progressive. So you can definitely get a Christian therapist, right? There are a lot of ministers who also facilitate as Christian counselors and therapists, and they have their own practice. Find someone. We want to be about prevention, right? There is nothing worse, because I don't believe I don't believe at lying at funerals. As a pastor, I'm not gonna lie. If something like this happens, I'm like, it's unfortunate, it's untimely, that everyone that unalives themselves or finds themselves that dies, God didn't do that. I hope you all understand that. I bet sometimes people end their lives prematurely by the decisions that they make, and suicide is one of those decisions. Absolutely, right? And so so because it's such a complex issue, and there's no one single cause, it requires complex and compassionate conversation. That the dialogue around it needs to be one that nurtures and gives proper information, so that people will understand, that they won't feel like there's some, aberration, that there's some wicked kind of person. No, you're not wicked, you're weak. And your weakness is not something that you get thrown away for. There is strength for weakness. The way that we view it is that people who contemplate and even commit suicide are wicked people, and that's not true. Not true at all. That could be further from the complexity of what they were going on in their life, because a lot of times we don't stop to find out. But this week, we're going to stop to find out, And it could be a combination of factors that, that cause or that put people at risk. We said it in the last half. It could be mental disorders, that bipolarism, schizophrenia, personality disorders, depression, anxiety, right? That all those things could be going on in an individual. And we need not look at that like, oh, my goodness. No, that's not wicked. There is a particular area of their mind that's weak. There's a weakness there. And weaknesses need to be connected to strength. It doesn't need to be connected to something that is evil. No. Everyone is not born the same way. Everyone is not raised in the same environment. Everyone doesn't have the same sense of trauma. And I'm not going to repeat what I said last week. We're not going to do that because that would be a whole nother long show. But I just wanted to tell you that people go through. And we don't all go through the same way. And we don't all have, something internally. That they have bipolar disorder, a chemical imbalance, schizophrenia, They could have come back from a war and they have PTSD, and it leads them down this path of feeling like, in a whole, what's it all for kind of mentality. So we've got to develop that level of sensitivity and knowing and how to deal with those kinds of people. Right? We talked about in the last segment, substance abuse. They could have a substance abuse disorder. Alcohol and drug abuse can increase the risk of suicide, both through the direct effect of the substances and their role exacerbating mental health issues. So when you couple mental health with substance use and abuse, listen, you're sitting on the edge. You're sitting. That's playing with fire, and you might get burned. Right? And so we see it like that. And then you have people who have feelings of hopelessness. Hopelessness, often associated with depression, can increase the risk of suicide. When you look at that 85, when I read that 85 plus population, they're seeing their lives at its weakest moment. I told you, weakest. They're seeing their lives now. When they used to be vibrant, they used to be able to go where they wanted to go and drive themselves. And now they're sitting in a home. They're dealing with a multiplicity of issues that they may not be as mobile, as independent as they once were, or they may be disconnected or estranged from their children and their family. They may be sitting up in an assisted living and no one has visited them. And their whole idea is, instead of going on with life, let me just get out of the way. Nobody cares at all anyhow. Right? Nobody's come to see me. Nobody's come to take care of me, and all of that. And that can cause the feelings of hopelessness, especially in that age demographic. Right? This will, they feel like they're releasing themselves from being a burden, from that situation. That's where you get elderly assisted suicide, assisted death. That's where they're like, hey, they find, it's called euthanasia, where they, get people to help them pass away out of a sense of worthlessness. Yeah, in that situation. The people can be impulsive, just as these people are hopeless. You can find other people who are impulsive behaviors. Again, another mental disorder, ADHD, and borderline personality disorders, and all of that can increase the risk of suicide. Right? That's why you got to be very careful how you allow the school systems and things of that nature to label your children as ADD, ADHD. You got to be very careful of that, because with those things comes a certain behavioral tendency. With those things come a certain trend, and you got to be careful of that, right? Some people have a family history of suicide and mental health disorders. See, I'm hoping that you see that it's not always what we consider to be demonic. It's not, because I think we lack a certain level of nuance and sensitivity there. Now, are those things real? Absolutely. Do they possess? Do they influence decisions? No doubt about it. I believe that. As a spiritual person, I believe that. But is that the only cause? Well, no. It's not. It's not. That can be one of the causes. That's why I said a lot of times we live like we think that we are walking down the road of Damascus and Jerusalem and all that in Caesarea Philippi and Bethsaida. That's how we view life from a Christian context. But that's not where we live. There's some real issues that people face every day, right? That we need to address, and we need to say, hey, we see you. We see you. This is why we need to invite people into the context of the family. This is why I push family so hard, to move those who feel like they are outliers or, quote unquote, what we call them black sheep, and move them into the care and the concern of family. That is important. You feeling what I'm saying? That's very important. And so, yeah, we need to talk about that. That family history, right? That you're dealing with people who have a lot of times chronic pain and illnesses. That people who have terminal diseases and severe physical health conditions like cancer and diabetes and chronic pain, it can make them think about ending it all. It's too much pain. And when I meet people as a pastor, when I meet people in those situations, I listen. I listen because I have no reference. And yes, I can throw scriptures. I can throw, he was wounded. I can do all of that. I can do, we can pray, heal from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet. But the reality is that we are not going through it. And we're going to have to speak faith, because they're going to have to connect even in those moments of chemotherapy and radiation, looking at their hair fall out and looking at their bodies turn gray, and they're losing the color, the pigmentation, the efficacy of the pigmentation of their skin. That they're the ones that have to sit up in the dialysis day by day. Yeah. See, I think, again, there has to be another level of sensitivity there. Yeah. Even as we pray, even as we minister, even as we prophesy and we speak declarations of wellness and healing, even as we remind them of healing and wholeness and all those kind of things, we have to be sensitive to understand that we are not the ones that's living out of that context. We're not the one that is experiencing that. Yeah, absolutely. Another thing can be, social isolation. Yeah, I get concerned because I have not in my entire life ever heard so much of a generation talking about they are introverted and they don't like a lot of people, and they don't. And I get what it means, but I'm talking about it's self-diagnosing, and they pull away from people, and it's that social isolation. I always watch. There's a difference when you wanted to be by yourself and thinking that you're all alone by yourself, because yes, all of us have a sense of understanding of knowing that, yeah, there are some days that I just want to be by myself. I don't want to deal with these folks. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with none of that. I don't want to deal with it at all. And so, yes, but then there is something different when you feel all alone by yourself. That's something different. Do you feel what I'm saying? That's something different. And so we need to consider that when we're dealing with people, when we're dealing with the nuances of their situations, that are they just wanting to be by themselves because they had a bad day, or do they feel alone even when they're in a bunch, around a bunch of people? They feel all by themselves, and that's important. I think that is super important, that we begin to think about that. Also, again, I told you about trauma and abuse, physical, sexual traumas, rape, molestation, incest. Those things can push people into a place of wanting to commit suicide. Yeah, it increases that risk. It increases that risk. Yeah. that they're going through so much trauma in that area and nobody to talk to. Because especially in our community, you better not tell nobody. Then they finally get an opportunity to tell somebody, and then the people who they tell don't believe them, right? Because oftentimes those things happen among a favorite uncle or auntie or somebody who's revered in the family, and that person is left to defend the notions of their own mind. It brings upon them a level or a sense of maybe I was the wicked one, maybe I did something, and they begin to take unhealthy ownership of that kind of lifestyle and that kind of behavior. And they say, you know what, it doesn't mean anything. Let's just end it all here. And that's sad, right? And here it is. Now this is something. This is something in the research, y'all. This is something that certain cultural and religious beliefs can lead people to risk committing suicide. Yep. That's right. That's what that certain cultural beliefs is. And see, again, imagine, and I wish I could tell you how much I get it. They're coming to church and they're trying to find themselves and discover themselves. And what they know of themselves, they're only hearing hellfire and brimstone. They're only hearing how deplorable and how wicked they are. From the way I was taught when I came up, how to preach, that was the methodology, that was the words and the sayings of calling people who struggled, out of their name. It was my goodness, it was just a harsh place in retrospect. And so when I started preaching, I thought that was the way that it was supposed to go. And if it was not for my granddad and my mom pulling me back from that, like, hey, that's not what the gospel is about, the way you're saying it, But that's not how you do that. You can't grow a church like that. You can't love people like that. You can't get people changed when you talk. Do what Jesus did. And when I started saying, and I apologized to my congregation, I said, you know what? I use language, not so much that I believed it, but that I was taught that's how you're supposed to preach, hellfire and brimstone. Those names and labels, and I apologize to them. Because there are many people coming to our church that were LGBTQ. There were many people that did not feel, that were dealing with substance abuse, with drug abuse and all those different kinds of things. There were many people that were coming in, and even though the atmosphere was spiritual and God did bless, I think it was marginalized because those places or those conversations can take a tone, that community can take a tone that you don't love people. And at the end and the beginning of the day, God is love. God reveals that love in sending his only son. I'm just talking about, now I'm talking like a preacher pastor because that's the context. And sometimes we can be so harsh in the place of help that people leave unhealed. They leave in a worse state that they came in. Right. That little boy that's raised by that single mother, he may have some feminine tendencies. Now, the problem is that we're so quick to want to get to right and wrong that we don't even understand that might not even be that's not even time for the conversation of right and wrong. That's the conversation that maybe at this little 11-year-old boy needs to be around some more men. She's a single mom. Maybe you need to go ask her, hey, can I take him out to ballpark with me? Can I take him out to XYZ? Adopt him as a part of your family, not legally, but I'm talking about make him a part and put him around. Yeah. Because he doesn't have a reference point. Maybe have you ever thought about that? They don't have a reference point, right? She may not have a reference point. So take her around with the little girls and go and XYZ. And here it is. And it's not to change her. It's just to put her in an environment of exposure. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Right? Again, we've got to be wise. Now, the text is not going to change. The Bible is the Bible. But sometimes you can use The word, which is the sword of the Spirit, you can use it on the wrong people. And that sword was never to be used on people. That part, while you crying loud and sparing not, you're increasing and disconnecting people from the community that probably need to be there. Exactly. And then you have stressful life events. You know, that life can hit you in a way that it triggers some things like the loss of a loved one, a divorce, a job loss. Those things can trigger suicidal thoughts and attempts. So we need to think about that. We need to think about, it's a whole lot that can happen. And if we're not sensitive to it, we can miss an opportunity to help people live and have a full life instead of this saying, instead of just being insensitive and not understanding exactly what's going on. Absolutely. Listen, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. Tell me what you think about today's show. This is the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM. Got more to come. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And family, we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. And what a provocative day it has been. That's right. Listen, we're having a great day, but it's been a challenging one as we have been broaching the subject of suicide prevention. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that all week long. Listen, I forgot to do it before I took a break, but let me do it now. If you are in need of talking to someone, if you're on the brink, if you feel like you're on the edge and you need someone just to, turn loose and you have no one in your immediate circle, do this. Write down this number, 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. TALK 8255. Or the quick resolve is that you can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. That's HOME to 741-741. Text that, and someone will get with you. A professional, not just somebody who's going to talk. A professional is going to be there to talk to you. Absolutely. Listen, as I said before at the top of this show, that this is critical and key to my heart. Not that I know anyone personally that has ever done so, but I have been adjacent to people who have had people commit suicide, and that suicide, that event takes a toll on the people around them. See, you got to know it's something going on because they're not considering family. They don't consider children. They don't consider wives and husbands. They don't consider anything. Money. They just want to get out of what they perceive to be an unbearable life. A couple of years ago, a church was sitting there waiting on their pastor to come to church to service. And he never showed up. And so folks went out looking for him, and they went to his house, and he was at his house in his driveway in his car, and he had unended his life. He had unalived himself. That was what I want to say. He committed suicide. And you're thinking about that. You're thinking about how brilliant. And so immediately what I went and I did is I went to look to see about his ministry. I went to see what did he preach. Because immediately one of the first things, you heard people, I can't believe he did that. He going to hell and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, people, my goodness, without even connecting what kind of pressure and what kind of trauma and what kind of weight he had been carrying. And the best we can do is come up with where he's going to spend his eternity and not at least grapple with the idea of what this life journey for him had been about, what he was feeling while he was living. Sometimes we don't understand that now we have a church that has to deal with that, and a family and a wife and children that also read what we post and also hear what we say, because there is something about us that gets violent when we don't understand, when the questions or the answers to the questions that we don't have and the solutions to the problems that we cannot figure out, we immediately go to that space inside of us that gets defensive, and that defense, the defense of our ignorance, the defense, the fact that we didn't know and we were walking in darkness, can look uncaring and so very violent. It can look out of the nature of who we are as Christians. So we got to be very careful. So, I mean, and he was a profound preacher. I mean, smart, very intelligent, and yet he's in this space. And one of the things that immediately rose up in me was a empathetic heart. Don't judge. Don't get to this place because you know trauma. You've been at the place where you were wrestling for your mind as well. So don't judge. There, but for the grace of God, go you. And when you think about it, it causes us to reframe the conversations that we have in this moment against people, toward people, and even within ourselves. To be people of solutions, to be people of answers before. You know, that the scripture does not talk a lot about suicide. It says, thou shalt not kill. Right. And that's kind of they have two instances what we know about, and that is King Saul and Judas. And both of those suicides were up under duress. But the Bible does not give any level of adjudication concerning, you know, in terms of suicide itself. Right? And that's important. So that means then that people of faith, people who are, you know, we have to approach things. And first of all, we should stop saying what the Bible don't say. We should stop saying what our culture and our, you know, our religiosity, our piety normally gives us and helps us create language in certain things. But we need not say what it does not say. We need to say what it says, but we don't need to say what it doesn't say. And not only do we need to say what it says, we need to say what it says in the context of when it was said and who the scriptures was speaking to. Absolutely. And so that's important, to be people who are of open hearts and of open minds. To be people who are of understanding, people who are of great embrace. Yeah, because again, I cannot say this enough. You just never know what life is is taking people through. You never know what the big toggle is, right? And so we got to learn how to build, places of support, relationships of support, you know. For our community, and compassion, not just support, but within that support, compassion, right? Who might be considering ending their lives, unaliving themselves. You might need to consider. It can be challenging, I know it, but you know, I wanted to leave us today with a few steps on how we can do that. Number one is that we always should provide open communication. Encourage people to talk about their feelings, not how you see their feelings, not whether their feelings are Christian or religious or Bible. Come on, listen. We have to have. See, we won't talk about what the Bible says, but we won't do what the Bible says, and that says that our words should be seasoned with grace. It should be seasoned with grace, that when we speak, people can find help. See, we got to listen without judgment and show that is word empathy, and avoid offering solutions. Sometimes you don't know and advice unless they ask for it. And quite frankly, sometimes, listen, I've never been there. But listen, is it okay if I can pray for you? If you need somebody to talk to, I am here. Sometimes people just want to be heard. They want to get their frustration out verbally. So the greatest healing a lot of time is your ability to hear. The greatest healer a lot of times is your ear. Listening to somebody and say, yeah, just tell me all about it. I have no judgment. Whatever you say, you can use whatever language best describes where you are right now. Yeah. Don't worry about offending me. I don't offend easy. Listen, you done went to the family reunion and all of your grandmama and grandfolks was cussing and stuff like that. So don't be trying to clutch pearls when somebody's trying to get their feelings, so emotions off of their feelings. You get holy and deep and righteous. No, let them get it out the best way that they can. Absolutely. Right? And then encourage professional help, because guess what? Even though they're talking to us, the psychiatrists and counselors and psychologists, therapists, they've got special tools, trained to have special tools to help. Yeah. Say, hey, have you ever considered going to see someone? I'll go with you. Yeah. Have you ever seen a counselor? Right? Yeah. Have you spoken to pastor? Because it doesn't need just to be a scientific conversation. It's also a spiritual and a soul conversation. So all of that meshed in together can provide a safety net for that individual. Absolutely. Offer them to go to their first appointment with them. Stay connected. Stay connected. Let me say it again. Rewind. Stay connected. Regularly check up on them. Send them a text. Call them. Because you got to break isolation. You got to break audience. You got to break this whole thing. You got to make sure that they understand that they are in the company and a part of a community of people that really are concerned and really care about them. Absolutely. So stay connected. Use endearing words. I love you. Thinking about you. Praying for you. Yeah. You're going to be all right. Always send those encouraging texts. Yeah. Take them out to lunch, dinner. Cook for them. Invite them over. Bring them around your kids and all those different kinds of things, your family. Make them feel a part. Give them a reason to reconsider. Yeah. Then not only that, learn about what suicide is. Educate yourself. I'm big on that. If I don't know a concept and a context, people can call me nerd and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy being a nerd. I really do. I enjoy being a nerd. I enjoy learning. Yes, I do. And so I'll study up on a situation. That's right. I want to know the warning signs, like talking about wanting to die and expressing feelings of hopelessness. Immediately when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, wait, hold it. Where we going? Where we going with that? I don't like your language. No, I was just saying, no. We're not just going to say that, though. I was just, nope. Figure out something. I need you to say something better. I need you to speak something better. Yeah. I'm big on that. I am big on that. Watch them. Watch them when they draw away from social activities or they start giving away valuable stuff. Like, wait, where we going with this? Where you trying to go? Huh? And one of the things that I think is most important that you do, one of the two things is create a safety plan. Right. If you're thinking that, make sure that, you always know where they are. It's a job, but make sure that you are there. Make sure that you recognize and always are checking up to the point it's like, hey, you ain't got to check up on me. Nope, I'm going to check up on you. You're on my heart. Period. Because those things become negotiations in their minds. Absolutely. And here's the final thing. Keep the crisis line with you. Culture call. Keep the crisis line with you. I know you can call up Jesus, but sometimes you may have to call somebody else while you're calling him to help that individual. And we've been giving out that number all morning, right? The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK, TALK. And again, the quick way, Listen, it's the crisis line. You need to keep it around you. You can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. We want to be there for each other. And we want to make sure that this situation, this issue goes down, is alleviated. Because at the end of the day, life is worth living. It is. Absolutely. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3 FM. I need you to keep it right here. We got a little bit more to go, but we see the runway. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
What an amazing day we have had today. I am telling you, I have thoroughly enjoyed this kickoff. That's right. We're kicking off the week talking about suicide prevention, and there's so much to dig in. I've got some folks I'm going to roll out this week. Yeah, some help, some therapists, some people who have experienced some things. Yeah, and I need you to keep it right here on Praise 93.3 FM and tune in every morning this week from 10 to 12, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on the Culture Call. I want you to understand that this is important for our community to know and how to help one another. You know, one of the things that's so very tenuous about life is that we sometimes don't know how each moment is going to show up. And it is in that questioning, it is in that unknown that sometimes life catches us in not its most favorable iteration. What do you mean? Sometimes life can life. Listen, sometimes things can happen. And sometimes, you know, we can be dealing with mental challenges, as we've outlined. We can be going through something so very traumatic, a sudden traumatic thing that you weren't expecting that causes your life to go in a tizzy. Whatever that is, whether it is bullying, whether it's not being able to provide like you once were able to provide, or whether you just feel so utterly disconnected from life and humanity. L. Spencer Smith wants to tell you today, check up. You have a reason to live. I know it might be a little difficult right now. I know that there are some nuances and some ways that you wish that you could turn things and that they weren't the way they are. But guess what? We've got to deal sometimes with the cards that we are dealt. And you might be thinking, well, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know if I want to get through this. I don't even know if anybody cares if I get through this. I want you to rebuke that notion, because we here at the Culture Call, we here at Praise 93.3 FM, we care. You have to live. You have no clue about the brilliant solution you are to life's questions for someone else. And if you are gone, then their entire life changes. So we need you to stay alive. We need you to embrace life. And we need all on this Culture Call to embrace people who we may not even understand why we're being led that way, but the salvation in our arms can really save their lives. Listen, like my grandmama and my mama would say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel and I love you a peck. I love you a hug around the neck until tomorrow morning. That's right. Until tomorrow morning from the hours of 10 to 12, I'll be right back here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. That's right, on Praise 93.3 FM. Keep it right here for the best in gospel music. You all have a great day. Love somebody. Love them hard. Stay at peace. And be the greatest person you can be. Have a good one. Love you.